Good morning. Today is 8th of April. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. So in the today's video, we are going to discuss the relevant articles published in the today's Hindu newspaper that are important for the UPSC CSE examination along with the background as well as the things that are to be pondered upon. Now, first of all, in the today's newspaper, the articles that will be relevant for our examinations have been listed here. You can just have a look. The first article that we are going to discuss is the public participation sought for child protection on the page number 12. Now this particular article talks about the mission Vatsalya's critical analysis. So we are going to see this particular article and it will be important for paper number 2 under the topic of social justice children related issues. The second article that we are going to discuss is India's position on Russia affecting its relationship with the US. Now this particular article has been taken from the editorial section and it will be important for GS paper number 2 international relation page number 7. Then the next article will be the defense ministry issues indigenization list. So here the indigenization of defense we are going to see, and this will be important for our GS paper number 3 under the topic of indigenization of the defense sector. Fine, this article is taken from page number 12. The next article will be taking from the India Australia basically economic cooperation trade agreement that has recently been signed. Okay, so this will be important again for with respect to the international relation as well as in GS paper number 3. Find the economic relations free trade agreements, we will also be seeing it. Fine, then the article the miracles of the caste in sanitation work, it has been taken up from the text and the context section page number 9. Fine, and here we see the plight of the manual scavengers, and this will be important for again the social justice GS paper number 2. So these are all the relevant articles, and now let's discuss all these articles one by one in the detail. Now, before moving that, as we do in every class, we'll be taking the GS quote. So today we'll take the quote from Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen had said that how to measure the progress of a nation. So progress of a nation according to Amartya Sen is more plausibly judged by the reduction of deprivation rather than by the further enrichment of the opulent. So you don't need to see that how much rich further the richer people are getting. You need to see that how much deprivations are reduced, how much basic dignities have been restored to the people who were not having them earlier. So the restoration of dignities is more important as a matter of progress. So this is we can use in our GS paper number 4 ethics as well as in the GS paper number 2. Now taking up the first article. So guys, first of all, here we have taken clubbed the two articles. Now this particular article was published into the yesterday's Hindu editorial. Okay, and this article is published into the today's newspaper, the public participation sought for child protection. So this article is actually talking about the mission Vatsalya and how in the mission Vatsalya there are some kind of limitations and what government has done now in the mission Vatsalya. So before moving in this particular article, guys, I'll be explaining you little bit of the background information so that you can understand this particular article even more in a better way. Now, first of all, when we talk about the welfare of the women as well as the children, we have a dedicated ministry for that. That is the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now recently, under the Ministry of Women and Child Development, the restructuring of the major programs and the schemes have happened. What has happened here? Under the ministry, all the major programs and schemes, they have been clubbed under three major umbrella schemes. One is the Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0. Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0. Under this, we have the umbrella ICDS scheme. Okay, we have the umbrella ICDS scheme, and within the umbrella ICDS, Anganwadi services, scheme for adolescent girls, okay, Poshans Abhiyan, all these schemes are there. Then the next scheme that has been there under the Ministry of Women and Child Development now, it is the Mission Vatsalya. Mission Vatsalya. Now the Mission Vatsalya is for the protection of the children, okay, the protection and the welfare of the children. And the third scheme that is there, it is the Mission Shakti. Mission Shakti. Okay, so Mission Shakti is for the safety and the empowerment of the women. Within the Mission Shakti, there are the two schemes that are there, that is the Sambal Sambal, and the other one is Samarthya. Okay, Sambal and Samarthya. So again I'll explain. Ministry of Women and Child Development had got restructured. Within the Ministry of Women and Child Development, there are the three umbrella schemes that are there. Number one is the Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0. Fine. Second one is the Vatsalya. The third one is the Shakti. Within the Shakti, there is a Sambal. Now, the Sambal is for the safety and the security of the women. And the second one is the Samarthya. Samarthya is for the empowerment of the women. Now, within them, there are schemes. For example, the Ujjwala, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. Okay, so within these three, there are the independent schemes that are there. Now, this particular article that we are going to discuss today, it is talking about this scheme, the middle one, that is the mission Vatsalya. Okay, so this is something that we are going to discuss in this article. Now guys, first of all, when we talk about the mission Vatsalya, okay, basically this scheme has now been formed by merging the two earlier existing schemes that were there. Okay, that is the child protection scheme and the child welfare services. Child protection scheme was earlier to make sure that the child, they are protected from the exploitation, they are protected from trafficking, etc. And child welfare services, which aims that all the laws that have been there for child, which are providing for certain welfare, certain entitlements of the child, they should reach them. So earlier two schemes were there, CPS, child protection scheme, and child welfare schemes. Now both have been merged under the Vatsalya. Now what is this Vatsalya? Guys, Vatsalya is a intervention by the union government, where the union government provide the support to the state government so that the states can effectively provide the welfare and the protection to the children. Under the mission Vatsalya, there are the statutory bodies that will be supported, which are working for the children welfare. Child care institutions, for example, they will be supported. All the other institutions, they will be supported. Service delivery structures will be strengthened. Okay, so many different kind of services are to be provided to the children, so these structures will be strengthened. Then the institutional care will be strengthened for the children, it will be provided. Non-institutional community based care will be provided to the children. Emergency outreach services, for example, establishing the child helpline where the children can call and the support can be provided to them. So emergency outreach services will be there. Training and capacity building of the staff so that they are equipped to help the children. So under the mission Vatsalya, all these particular things will be carried. States will be provided the support. Moreover, the earlier existing structures for the children that is there. For example, we have the Juvenile Justice Act. Within the Juvenile Justice Act, there are the child welfare committees that are there. Okay, so they will be strengthened within the state. All these things will be done under the mission Vatsalya. Now, why these two articles have come? Now, the first article, it has talked about that within the mission Vatsalya, there is one particular initiative, and the name of initiative is the Child Line. Now, what is this particular child line? It is a helpline which has been in operation for the children. The children can call them, okay, onto a number 1098, and then they could get connected with the counselor. If they have some problem, the support can be provided to them. The authorities can reach to such kind of a children into the crisis. So this child line helpline is operational for more than 25 years. Now guys, recently what had happened, the Ministry of Women and Child Development had said that this particular helpline will be taken over by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, and then this particular but how it will be taken, what Ministry of Home Affairs will be doing, it has not been clear. Now guys, this child line helpline, it has become one of the largest global network to assist and rescue the children. Okay, it has up till now functioned as the public and the private partnership, where the government as well as the civil society organizations both have responded to the children into the need of crisis. Is it clear? So this is something which is going to happen. Now guys, it has been basically as of now, what has been the system has been this, that these helplines now they will be answered by the police personnel who will be reaching to the children. Now it has been said that such kind of thing will exactly be defeating the purpose of this particular helpline. Now the helpline was created so that the children don't face a trauma. Now it has been seen that the children are actually not in comfort with the police personnel. Okay, moreover, many a times the police personnels, neither they don't have the sensitivity as how to deal with the children. Moreover, they are burdened with other kind of work also. So giving the responsibility of this child line authority to the police will be defeating the entire purpose, neither good for children nor good for the police personnel. So it has been provided. Now guys, as this particular thing is going on, what has happened, the union government has now come out with another proposal. The proposal is that the union government has now decided that it will partner with the private sector organizations, the volunteer groups, so that they can assist this Vatsalya scheme, so that they can protect the vulnerable child as well as the child who have been abandoned or missing. In this particular thing, the ministry, the union ministry has basically has sought an advice that should we involve the initiatives such as the Bharat Guide and Scout. Okay, so Bharat Scout and Guides are there, then the NSS volunteers are there, Nehru Yuva Kendras are there, then the private NGOs, self-help groups are there. They could be identified and they could be robbed in helping the children who are into the distress, and all these particular things will be done under the mission Vatsalya. Is it clear or not? So this is something that government is proposing, and one is the criticism of the child helpline where the police personnel will be manning this particular thing, and it has been criticized. So these are the two issues that have come here. And guys, broadly I hope that you have also understood the structure of the schemes that is there. So that is all guys about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, this particular article taken from the Hindu newspaper is India's position on Russia affecting its relationship with the USA. Important for GS paper number 2, international issues. Now, guys, first of all, the background of this particular article. Now, see, the background goes something like this, that Russia has invaded the Ukraine. And as Russia has invaded the Ukraine, multiple resolutions have been moved in the United Nations where the Russia is being criticized for the aggression that Russia has shown onto the Ukraine. The votes have been carried into the United Nations General Assembly, the United Nations Security Council, there was voting, then United Nations Human Right Council, there was the voting that has happened. Okay, and many other platforms also the Russia has been criticized. Now here also you can see this particular article that Russia suspended from the Rights Council. Okay, this was also the voting had happened into the United Nations, basically the voting that has happened into the UNGA, where it was asked that should we remove the Russia from the Human Right Council. Now the vote has been passed and Russia has actually been removed. So here also the voting has happened. Now guys, in all of these votings in the UNGA, UNSC, UNHRC, and even this particular vote also, what India has done, India has abstained in voting. India has not outrightly basically condemned the Russian action. Now because India is doing this, what will be the impact on the India and US relation? What will be the impact on India and US relation? See, there is one particular basically there is a one particular way in which we describe the India and US. We say that India and US have turned from estranged democracies to engaged democracy over the last few years. So we were estranged earlier and now we have become engaged. So will we again be becoming estranged because of this Russia factor, or will we be staying engaged? This is a very big question that is there. Now this particular article is talking that whether there will be an impact or not. So let's discuss this particular article. Now guys, basically it has been provided that, see, the USA recently, the chief basically what had happened recently, Mr. Dalip Singh, he had visited the India. He is the strategic advisor into the USA. Okay, now what he has done, he had said that there will be the dire consequences for any country including India if they will be engaging with any economic trade with the Russia. So this is something that has been said. Now, guys, it is provided that actually, if we see this entire situation, then the Joe Biden administration very clearly know that Joe Biden administration has taken the long view of India, and Joe Biden understands that India is actually having a strategic partnership with the Russia, and the strategic partnerships are very important for the India. Moreover, USA will not be becoming unnecessarily irritated onto the India because of one more factor also. See, USA needs India in its Indo-Pacific strategy. Okay, in order to counter the China, India is a very important linchpin. So therefore, USA will not be getting too much frustrated because it needs India into the long term. So right now we are not criticizing the Russia, but India, but USA will able to bear that particular thing. It has been provided here. Is it clear? Then, guys, the next thing that has happened in this particular thing is that basically India's position is right now evolving. Though India had not criticized, though India had not supported the vote, but India is now coming out and saying that India is deeply disturbed by the violation of territorial integrity, sovereignty. Okay, so what has happened? India had not specifically used the word Russia, but yes, India is indirectly hinting this thing that whatever is happening is not appreciable, it is not right. So unhappiness has been expressed by the India. Moreover, see, it is not something new that is being done today by India, or India is trying to take advantage. This has been a strategic policy of India since the independence. Earlier we have the non-alignment, now we are maintaining our strategic autonomy, and the very purpose of the strategic autonomy is this, that wherever we'll feel our national interest is getting fulfilled, we'll take the side, otherwise we'll not take the side. Now the Russia happens to be one of the biggest exporter of defense to India. Okay, and it, if we criticize the Russia directly, it might not serve the India's national interest. Okay, so we'll not speak up here. This is a part of our strategic autonomy. USA understands this particular thing, so the relations will not be that much impacted. Moreover, guys, India has stayed quiet and neutral in Hungary in 1956, okay, in Afghanistan, okay, in 1979, even when in the Iraq the intervention was made by the US and Britain, there also India stayed silent. So this neutrality has been there for such a long time. Then understand this particular thing. Okay, so dependence on Russia factor also we have seen. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that see, even the USA had shown a kind of a double standard. Basically, Europe is a lot dependent onto the Russia for the energy supplies. Now, as the Russia Ukraine war was going on, to the European countries, USA has given a waiver that okay, you can import the oil and gas, particularly the gas from the Russia. So when Europe has to import the gas Europe has imported the gas from Russia, then the waivers are there. But when India has to import the gas from the Russia, there is a problem. It is even the USA which is showing the double standard here. Okay, then, guys, the next thing that has come here is that see, right now the India is still into the shocks of the COVID-19, and for a developing country, basically, to absorb this particular shock is a very much difficult. Okay, and in this capacity, our Russian relations, okay, we will continue with that, and even the USA has to understand it. Then basically, recent now in few days, the USA and India will both be going to host their 2+2 ministerial meet. Now into this 2+2 ministerial meet, there will be an opportunity that the USA as well as the USA as well as the India, they can resolve their differences, they can talk on to the matters that have come in between, and there we can talk. Okay, guys, this 2+2 ministerial meet, it is the meet between the foreign minister and the defense minister of the respective countries that will happen. So here we can solve on to this particular matter. Okay, moreover, guys, it has been provided that now India is silent also because of the fact that India is militarily dependent onto the Russia for the weapons. So we need to reduce our dependence onto the Russia also into the long term if we need to maintain our complete independence into the foreign affairs. So this is something that has been provided in this particular article. So guys, I hope that you have understood these articles along with the implications and other broad themes. Now we'll be moving to the next article. Defense Ministry issues indigenization list. Okay, so guys, basically this article is just a one-liner concept, but before understanding this, you need to understand a lot of other background informations which will be very much important. This article, by the way, will be important for our GS paper number 3, indigenization of defense. Now, guys, first of all, what do we mean by the word indigenization? So, indigenization is simply meant as increasing the capability of a country for developing and producing the defense equipment. Okay, every country wants to secure its national interest, and many a times to secure the national interest you need to sometimes you need to resort to war. Sometimes there might be the confrontations. Okay, and in that instance the defense arsenal happens to be a very important factor in any country's well-being. And at that time, if we are dependent on some other country for our defense arsenal, then it might be a very big strategic problem. So defense indigenization concept comes. It means that we in our own we in our own country will be making the defense equipments. Now the indigenization of defense is a surest way of achieving the self-reliance or the atmanirbharta. Fine, the defense indigenization will be helping in lot of the ways. Number one, it will be a strategic move. Okay, if you are dependent on some other country, and let's say with that country only you have a war, then that particular country will be halting the war supplies, and then there will be strategic defeat of a nation. So it is a strategic requisite, it is an economic requisite also. So today, guys, we are importing a lot of weaponry, and when we are importing it, obviously a lot of foreign exchange payment is being made, so it is also an economic imperative. Thirdly, having a thriving defense industry will make India a more hard power. Okay, we can export, India will become a hard power. Moreover, that export will also be bringing the economic well-being for India. It will generate a lot of employment. Is it clear or not? Then, guys, there are certain data also that I am having, that why the indigenization of defense is needed into the India. According to the SIPRI, that is the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, it has been provided that India is the world's second largest importer. Fine, in this particular capacity, 9.5% of the global import was done by India. India's military expenditure has increased by 3.1%. So India is basically, it has been provided that India is the world's second largest importer. Okay, this is not something which we should be happy about. Okay, so much dependence is not appreciable. Then, guys, understanding, according to the Comptroller Auditor General report of 2011, it provided that Hindustan Aeronauticals Limited, it has 90% of import dependency. Okay, which is again not a very good thing. Then secondly, according to the self-reliance index, it has provided that India's SRI, self-reliance index, is just 0.3. It means that we are lot dependent on another countries. Okay, and in defense there is a lot of dependence. 4% of our GDP is being spent onto the defense, and majorly because onto the acquisitions of the defense weaponry that we are doing. So because of all these factors, we need to have our own defense sector. We need to indigenize our weaponry in India. Now, guys, in order to carry with the indigenization, what happened, we have came out with the defense procurement policy. Now this defense procurement policy for the first time was launched in 2002, and it streamlined the procedure by which within the country we will be procuring more and more weaponry. So this defense procurement policy for the first time came in 2002. Now, guys, it got reformed in 2016 onto the recommendations of the Dhirendra Singh committee, and much more emphasis onto the internal procurement was given. And now the latest is the defense acquisition policy of 2020, the defense acquisition policy of 2020. So, guys, in 2020 the Atmanirbhar Bharat reforms were announced, and as a part of this Atmanirbhar Bharat reforms, this defense acquisition policy of 2020 was brought. So this DAP of 2020 had brought a lot of reforms into the defense acquisition in India. We'll be understanding them. Now, what has been provided? First of all, guys, by the defense acquisition policy of 2020 under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, the FDI in defense has been increased. Now the FDI in defense manufacturing, it has increased to 100%. Fine. Now 74% FDI can come under automatic route. Automatic route means that FDI can come for the defense sector, and if 74% ownership is by some other actor, you don't need to take the government permission. Till 74% without the government permission, okay, the web defense equipment trade in India can be established. and 100% up beyond the 74% till 100%, if you want to go, then there will be the government approval that will be taken. Okay, but anyhow 100% fdi into the defense is allowed. Then guys, there are some other changes that have been made into the defense acquisition policy 2020. So certain categories are there. Number one, by IDDM. Okay, by mistake it is written here IIDM. It is IDDM. IDDM stands for Indian Designed, Developed and Manufactured. Designed, developed and manufactured. Now it has been said that the focus will be given on the procurement of will be procuring the weaponaries. Okay, and these categories will be there. First is the by IDDM. It means we will be buying the Indian designed, developed and manufactured. Now suppose there is an ABC vendor in India. The ABC vendor is located in India. We are buying, let's say, the gun from him. Now basically this could be designed in India, it could be manufactured in India, it could be developed in India, but guys, still there could be certain equipments that could be of imported nature. So it has been provided that whenever we are buying from the IDDM, minimum 50% of the components that have been used should be internally made within the country. Okay, then the next is the buy Indian. Now what is the buy Indian? Buy Indian is this, that we are buying from the Indian vendor, but he himself has not designed it, he himself has not either manufactured it, or he himself has not developed it. Suppose we are buying from the ABC vendor of India, and he in turn got this particular design from some French manufacturer. So if such kind of goods are there, indigenous content needs to be minimum 50%. Okay, if the design is Indian and everything else is foreign, Indian content needs to be minimum 50%, and otherwise it needs to be 60%. Then the buy and make India. Now what is this buy and make India? Buy and make India, an Indian vendor, but this particular vendor is buying the product from some outside country, but the person with whom he is buying, he had promised a technology transfer. He had promised that okay, in coming years this technology will be transferred to you within the India, and India it will be manufactured in some coming years. So such kind of goods are there. When such kind of goods are being procured, minimum 50% of those goods, okay, needs to have an Indian content. Okay, then the buy global manufacturer in India. Okay, buy global manufacturer in India. So right now we are buying from a global vendor, we are buying from an international vendor, but over the period it will do some technology transfer and then it will be manufactured in India. Okay, but they also needs to have a 50% of buy plus make component of India. Then the buy global, it means that we are buying from the foreign country, but it don't have any particular component for the technology transfer. Okay, it needs to collaborate with an Indian vendor. Okay, and minimum 30% Indian vendors role needs to be there. So these are some of the roles that we have brought into the defense procurement policy of 2020. Okay, just one thing I'm telling you, you don't need to go too much into the detail of this particular data, that okay, in which percent category, because solely the question onto this categorization will not be coming. So you don't need to go too much into the detail. Just you can give a reference of the defense acquisition policy of 2020, where much more emphasis has been given to the indigenous procurements. Okay, so just this idea you can give, and if you can talk about the FDI that has been increased. Now guys, basically what this particular article is talking about, this article is saying that what has happened recently, the Ministry of Defense has released a new indigenization list. It has released a list of 101 items which can only be procured by the Indian manufacturers. Okay, so indigenization list of 101 pieces of equipment and platforms which the three services can procure only from the domestic industry. So the naval utility helicopters, light tanks, small unmanned aerial vehicles, anti-ship missiles. So such 101 items are there. You obviously don't need to see the name of all of them. So this is guys all which has come in this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Beyond border Gavaskar. Okay, so this particular article talks about the recent India-Australia economic cooperation and trade agreement that has been signed. So few days back we have taken this article into the text and the context page also when it came. So basically guys, this free trade agreement has been signed with the Australia. Now this particular free trade agreement, the renegotiations with the on this actually started in 2020. Before that the negotiations were going on, but it got suspended. Then again the negotiations got started into the June 2020. Okay, it got finalized and now it has been signed. Now guys, this particular year we have signed two FTAs. Earlier one was the with the UAE in the month of February, and the second one we have signed is with the Australia, the India Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement. The idea in any trade agreement or free trade agreement is that the both the countries will be reducing the tariffs, will be reducing the import duties onto the goods that are being imported. Okay, so we will also do this thing. Now basically, first of all, what are the details of this particular agreement? This particular ECTA, Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, it will cover a large number of economic and commercial relations. It will cover the trade in goods, it will cover the services, it will cover the rules of origin. Rule of origin means, let's say that let's say the Australia is importing a good from India. Indian exporter has to give a rule of origin certificate. Rule of origin certificate means that yes, the good was made in India only. It is not earlier imported from China or from Taiwan or some another country. Sometimes what happens, we import from some another country and then we export. Okay, so this is not allowed. The rule of origin are needed to be given. Then the technical barriers to the trade that are there, they will be identified, will be reduced. Dispute settlement mechanism has also been provided here. Fine, the customs procedures have been properly listed. Okay, now there is a goal between the India and Australia that they will try to, there is a goal that basically we need to reach the bilateral trade to $50 billion in the next 5 years. We need to enhance our bilateral trade to $50 billion into the next 5 years. Right now it is around $27.5 billion. Now guys, Australia will eliminate the tariffs on more than 96% of Indian exports. So the exports entering in Australia, 96% of them, they will not be having any tariff. Okay, labor intensive industries will also be provided the benefit. Now India in turn will allow the free entry to 85% of Australian goods. Okay, 85% of Australian goods will be provided the free entry. Even the Australian wines, even the Australian liquors, Australian beer, they have also been kept under the mandate of this particular a free trade agreement. Now guys, it has been provided that right now we will be providing the will be imposing the less tariffs on 85% of Australian goods, and into the next 10 years on 5% other Australian merchandise also we will be reducing the tariffs. So in total India will provide 90% of the goods entry into the India at reduced tariff rates. Now it has been provided that guys, between the India and Australia, the contentious issues that were there, the dairy sector, now they have been kept aside and they will be renegotiated laterwards. Now what was the dairy sector issue? See, Australia has a very well thriving mechanized dairy sector. Australia wanted that the dairy products of Australia should also be allowed in India. But you know that in India we already have a lot of informal players, a lot of dairy cattle owners are there. Now they are subsistence based farmers. Okay, now the foreign products, if they would dairy products, if they would have entered India, they would have killed the Indian dairy farmers. So the dairy sector has not been covered. We'll be resolving it later. Okay, then guys, basically resolution a separate mechanism is there, which is a very good thing. Now the agreement also provides for the Indian skilled service providers, investors and business visitors. They can also be they will also be covered under this particular treaty. Now there was one more issue that has been resolved, that is the education. Now India, a lot of Indians want to go to Australia. They do their studies into the Australia, and after that they also seek some work in the Australia. Now guys, basically there were the two issues that came. Number one, because of the COVID-19, the Australia restricted giving access to the Indian students. Fine, Australian visa was not being given to the Indian students because of this COVID-19. Now this restriction has been diluted. Secondly, it has been provided that 18 months to 4 years of visas can be given to Indian students so that they can pursue the opportunities also, the work opportunities also into the Australia or to the temporary basis. So this is something good, beneficial for the students. Moreover, guys, understand this thing. It has also been provided that there is also the compulsory review mechanism at the end of every 15 years. After every 15 years, the the FTA will be reviewed, and if there are any problem, if there are any shortcomings, it can be rectified. So this is also a very good provision of this particular free trade agreement. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, the manacles of caste in sanitation work. So, guys, this particular article we'll see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice. Now this article is talking about the plight of the manual scavenging workers. It has been provided that in India we have several laws. Okay, in 2013 latest we brought the law for the eradication of the manual scavenging in India. So we have laws, but still the stigmas are there. Essential rights are not being given to the manual scavenging workers. Now when we talk about the manual scavenging, in 1955 the Protection of Civil Rights Act came, and the Protection of Civil Rights Act talked about the abolition of manual scavenging. Manual scavenging means carrying a human excreta onto the head, okay, and cleaning the toilets. Okay, that is an act of manual scavenging. Now, basically in 1955 we talked about abolition of manual scavenging, Protection of Civil Rights Act came, but nothing much happened on this particular dimension. After that, guys, in 1993 the Employment of Manual Scavengers and Construction of Dry Latrines Prohibition Act, this law was passed. This particular law provided that in no circumstance the manual scavengers will be the practice of manual scavenging. Okay, this law came. Okay, this law also has not been very much successful, guys. The organizations are there, such as the Safai Karamchari Andolan is there, National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights are there. They are trying to eradicate the practice of manual scavenging, but their efforts have also not been very much successful. The laws have also not been very much successful. Even the Controller Auditor General presented a report in 2003, and in this particular report the National Scheme for Liberation and Rehabilitation of Scavengers and their dependents, now this particular scheme was introduced in the 1990s by the government, and this scheme, National Scheme for Liberation and Rehabilitation of Manual Scavengers, envisage that the manual scavengers will be accommodated in some another vocation, in some another kind of work. This particular scheme has also been failed, and the CAG had said that even this 1993 law has failed. It has not been able to successfully work. Okay, now what happened in 2013, guys, because nothing worked till now. The National Scheme for Liberation of Manual Scavengers got failed, 1993 law got failed. In 2013 Parliament came out with another law, that is the Prohibition of Employment of Manual Scavengers Act 2013. Here again the rehabilitation was focused. Okay, but again it has failed as earlier. Apart from, guys, this 2013 law, there are some other commissions and reports that are there. Please do note them and please do use them in your answers. See, there was the Kaka Kelkar Commission and Barve Commission. Now, the Kaka Kelkar Commission and Barve Commission. Kaka Kelkar Commission came in 1956 and Barve Commission came in 1949. They also talked about the eradication of manual scavenging, but nothing had happened. Even the Pandya Committee came, which talked about the manual scavenging, nothing happened. So major committees are Pandya Committee, Barve Commission, Kaka Kelkar Commission. Okay, but much has not been done in this particular direction. Now, guys, it has been provided that basically the 1993 Act onto the manual scavengers that had been there, it has defined the manual scavenger as a person engaged in employment for manually carrying the human excreta. Now, first of all, it has been said that the 1993 law onto the manual scavengers have defined the manual scavenging in a very precise and in a particular type of a way. Okay, where only one type of workers will be included. We need to actually expand this particular definition. Not only a person carrying the human excreta should be called as understood as manual scavenger, rather any person doing the similar kind of work should also be brought into the manual scavengers definition, so all of them could be rehabilitated. Now, guys, it has been provided that actually When we talk about the definition could be broadened to include all the people who are in the manual cleaning of human excreta, in the collection, in the source separation, storage, transportation, transfer, processing, treatment. All these people should actually be brought into the definition of manual scavengers so that a more coverage can be given. Now, the manual scavengers, they also face a challenge to their dignity. What challenge to their dignity is there? It provided that there will be the mechanization of the cleaning of the sewers. Okay. Moreover, the present government wanted to again amend this 2013 Act, and it want that further mechanization of the cleaning of the sewers, potholes, manholes needed to be there. But guys, they are not talking about labor safety anywhere. Is it clear? Now if you see the workforce into the sanitation, it is open for, it is recruited by the open competition, but still it has been found that the particular caste are approached during the hiring. Why only particular caste should do this particular type of work? Why no action is being taken? Now understand this thing, that up till now there is no rule book for the sanitation workers. There are no guidelines for the sanitation workers. Okay, work timings, holidays, fine, they are not defined. They don't have the proper roll calls, fine. The removal from their duty, it can be at any time. No protection, no rule book is there for them. Moreover, the dignity is not there. Even the vehicles for the sanitation workers are not there. They have to travel to their designated workplace. Either they have to walk or they have to use the garbage vehicles where they travel along with the garbage. So the dignity of the workers get impacted. There are no even trade unions for the sweepers, okay, unlike other government and private workforce. So these are certain, yeah, lacunas in this particular scheme which are needed to be addressed immediately. Okay, so that is all guys about this particular article. I hope that guys that you have understood it. So that is all about the today's newspaper. With this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. So guys, I hope that you have understood it. Okay. Okay, Shiva says, sir, can you please share how to revise the things? I am taking more time in revising. Is that common? Okay, Shiva, see, the human memory functions in one particular way. See the more number of revisions actually you'll have, the less time you will be giving. If you will not be revising the things frequently, obviously the new a lot of time will be given because you are building the concept again from the scratch. So if you want that there should be the less time onto the revision, revise more and more. Okay, because more you'll revise, more readily your brain can recollect the earlier stored information, it could be retrieved. Okay, so see, it is a very common thing. Suppose I have read something 1 year back and now after 1 year I am reading it again. Obviously it will be taking a time equivalent as to the fact if I am reading it for the first time. So it is very much common, happens with everybody. Okay, don't worry on that. Okay, so guys, that is all for today. Thank you so much.